We're bringing back a focus on fitness, ability, character, and strength. And that's because the purposes of the American military is not to protect anyone's feelings. It's to protect our republic. And it's the republic that we dearly love. It's to protect our country. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American.
President Trump at the Quantico Marine Corps Base in Virginia this morning after the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, some call him the Secretary of Defense, spoke at the same event. Generals and admirals called in from around the world for this powwow at Quantico. And the left weaving conspiracy theories about it, trying to get more people shot because that's what the left does everywhere they seize control. And a very good Tuesday to you. Welcome back once again. We continue to be reached at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. We've got the looming government shutdown. The news media is always they get their panties in a very uncomfortable wedge every time we talk about the Democrats shutting down the government, and then they conspire to blame the Republicans for the Democrat-driven shutdowns in pretty much every instance because, that's what they do. And that includes the news media. When I say the Democrats, you know what I'm talking about. That includes the news media. Don't be silly. Womp, womp, womp. Yes, sir. That's just wonderful. Now, I've got audio that I want to start sharing with you as well because we got a lot of crazy going on. And soon, I don't think it's been posted yet, but on our social media posts, we're looking at posting video of Senator Chuck Schumer, not so affectionately known as the Lizard King, and he was flanking the anti-Semite Hakeem Jeffries, who's a communist and he hates the Jews. And that's fine with the Democrats. The Soviets, they brutalized the Jewish people, too. Starting with, it really before the end of World War II and the Holocaust over there, perpetrated by the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. But that's not important now. We're going to post the video of Hakeem Jeffries standing at the podium, and flanking him is the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer. And in a kind of a peculiar demonstration, he's doing his lizard tongue technique all over the place. It's just his eyes are bugging out a little like a reptile. It's kind of a chameleon thing. He's got one eye goes in that direction, his other eye goes in that direction, and his little tongue is flicking around out of his skinny little city lips, and he's got the skinny city lips and his lizard tongue, his reptilian tongue, flipping all over the place. We're going to post the video for you because it's why he's known as the Lizard King in the first place. So we're going to be posting that. Keep your eyes peeled for that. And keeping your eyes peeled is not nearly as painful as it may sound. May sound very difficult, but it's not very painful. Remarkable things. Womp, womp, womp. Just great. So we've got a lot going on in Washington and beyond. Extraordinary things. Yes, sir. Now, I want to get to some audio because we've got that going on. And it's the government shutdown. We got the looming government shutdown. The Democrats are doing it. Now, the President of the United States invited the Democrat leadership in the House of Representatives and the Senate. That's Hakeem, the anti-Semite communist jihadi, for the House of Representatives, the leading Democrat. And then in the Senate, you've got the Lizard King. And they were both invited over to the White House. And, of course, the Republican leadership, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and the Leader of the Senate, Senator John Thune, and Johnson, the Republican leaders in the House and the Senate and the House. And then the Democrats, the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, in the Senate, which is a catastrophic reality. And then Hakeem, slay all the Jews, Jeffries, as the Democrat leader in the House. And American Jews still say, I can't wait to vote for the next Democrat. It's, voting for your own demise, for the rail spurs. But never mind that. Let's go to the government shutdown because yesterday the powwow at the White House, although Elizabeth Warren was not there, they had a powwow anyway with the Republican leaders of the House and Senate, the Democrat leaders in the House and Senate, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, was there with the President of the United States, the meeting, and the Democrats came out to sabotage everything, but they've got a shakedown going. They're demanding $1.5 trillion over the next decade. Right now, they want hundreds of billions of dollars to line the pockets of their political allies who then funnel money back to them. It's the filthy, corrupt practices of Washington, D.C. on parade, on display. And our news media, they're colluding because they're all part of the problem, aren't they? But after the powwow in the West Wing of the White House with the president, and the president didn't allow cameras in because he knew it would just be all show business from that point on, and no business would be done, no actual business other than show business. And the vice president out on the driveway, J.D. Vance, came out with the Republican leaders flanking him, and J.D. Vance kind of said, hey, what happened in the meeting, Mr. Vice President? And J.D. Vance, VP, United States, America.
The original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind.
There is no reason to think that they will change their mind. If the media, see, this is where the corrupt media comes in. If the Democrats believe that the Republicans will take the blame in the New York Times and on CNN and across the spectrum of left-wing radical firebombing the Jews media, then the Democrats will say, shut it down. The Republicans will get the blame. And then we will continue to extort money from the American taxpayer through Congress. It's a shakedown. It's like Al Sharpton on LSD. I don't like to say on steroids. It's such a tired turn of phrase, isn't it? On LSD, and they want to shake us down for $1.5 trillion. And let's just start with this: the Republicans in the House, the Senate, and the White House just defunded the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the $500 million that we taxpayers generously give the left-wing Democrat Party front group called NPR, National Panhandler Radio, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and PBS, the Panhandler Broadcasting Systems, and it's a shakedown because this is one of their propaganda networks, and this one, the communists that they are, funded by the taxpayers, right? And they're demanding $500 million be restored to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting because they all have to, it's the propaganda network of the Democrat Party. Then the Lizard King came out. And he didn't actually come out at the White House. He was elsewhere. But the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, and he wasn't doing the lizard lips and the lizard tongue at this point. It wasn't until Hakeem Jeffries started lying to us. But here's the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer. He did hold an event on Capitol Hill where he lied.
We have to do it now. The time is wasting. We have to do it now. We've delayed and delayed and delayed. As I said.
Why'd you do that?
As Martin Luther King once said.
Martin Luther King.
Later means never. They don't want to do this, the Republican leaders, because they're right-wing. It'll divide their party.
And then James Earl Ray, a Democrat Party operative, shot and killed Martin Luther King. And again, if I were a member of Congress, I were on Capitol Hill, and Schumer just said that at the microphones, I'd walk up afterward and I'd inform the press because they don't know, because they're ignorant sluts. And why, Jane, you ignorant slut? I would inform all of the idiot liars with their pens and their dark and remote locations that the Lizard King just cited Martin Luther King when talking about the Democrats shaking down the taxpayers for $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years, demanding the gun to the baby's head. And by the way, James Earl Ray was a Democrat Party presidential campaign volunteer 2 weeks before he assassinated Martin Luther King in Memphis. And then they'd all freak out and crash into walls, and they wouldn't know what to do for a minute, and then they'd go back to the fentanyl or whatever they do. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, later means never. No, we got to do this now. We've got the Lizard King. And as Martin Luther King? Are you kidding me? I got an idea, Schumer. Stop shooting people, you bunch of lunatics. Good Lord. Maybe you should be at a Napa Valley retreat or something. Man, telling you. Democrats assassinated Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, Martin Luther King, and then their allies in the Communist Party assassinated John F. Kennedy. And their allies at the George Wallace presidential campaign assassinated Martin Luther King, Democrat Party. And then, a Bernie Sanders volunteer showed up at a baseball field with a rifle and shot Congressman Steve Scalise. It's almost like the Democrat Party has a tendency toward violence. Kind of amazing. And then Hakeem Jeffries, not a good man. He's the Democrat leader. He'd be the Speaker of the House of Representatives if the Democrats were in charge of the House of Representatives. And he is just an anti-American bit of rabble, as he is. And here he is. I'm going to blame the Republicans, and my idiot bootlicks in the media will follow my lead.
Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, and Donald Trump is the president. The government shuts down. It's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down and hurt the American people.
That's a lie. And then he went out and shot people with a rifle. He didn't go out and shoot people with a rifle. The Republicans control the House. They passed the bill. If the Republicans in the Senate, where they do control the Senate, if you could pass it on 50 votes, then the Republicans would pass it and the president would sign it and the government wouldn't shut down. Ipso facto, it's the Democrats shutting the government down. And there's no trick there. It's the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats that are threatening to shut the government down. And he, because he's a pathological liar, Hakeem Jeffries, well, they control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House. If the government shuts down, it's their fault. No, they need 60 votes, because that filibuster thing in the Senate, to pass the budget. And the Democrats are obstructing, and they are going to shut the government down. And then the New York Times will lie about it, and the Washington Post will spin it, and CNN will do both of those things because that's what they do. Now, again, Republicans didn't need 60 votes. If they only needed 50 votes in the Senate, boom, it passes. It's signed by the president. No government shutdown. Democrats know they need 60 votes, so they've got a gun to the head of the American baby in the cradle. They're shaking down the taxpayer, and the news media is in bed with them, and they're lying to all of us on behalf of the Democrat Party. Learn it, know it, don't love it. Caroline Leavitt is the wonderful spokesperson at the Donald Trump White House. She's the White House press secretary, and she was having none of this.
Democrats and Republicans, independents across the country want the government funded because they want our military and our troops to be paid. They want TSA agents and Border Patrol to be paid. They want food assistance programs for women and children in impoverished communities to continue going out the door. All of that will come to an end if Democrats vote against this clean CR that Republicans are proposing. And might I just add, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are on the record multiple times in their past political lives stating that they too believe a government shutdown is bad. In fact, I quote, Chuck Schumer just last year in 2024 said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Well, we hope that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats won't cause chaos and pain and heartache. We want our country to continue to be funded.
That's their goal, to cause chaos and pain. Chaos they love, pain they like them both very much. Let's be honest. They're the party of chaos and pain. They're the party of riots. They're the party of looting. They're the party of shooting their political enemies. And almost everybody falls into the category of their political enemies. You know, the big wireless companies have been pulling one over on all of us for a long, long time. It's time to make the switch now to consumer cellular. Listen, I switched. I'm getting the same fast, reliable, nationwide big wireless coverage without the big wireless cost. It's not just about saving money on the bill every month, although that's real good. It's also about not being used and abused by the big cell phone companies. Now, you probably have no idea how much data you use every month. I certainly do not know how much data I use every month. But most people over the age of 50 use less than 8 gigs of data in any given month. The big wireless companies shove everybody into an unlimited data plan because they need you to fund to cover the cost of younger people that use 10 times as much data as you use. It's a redistribution of wealth scheme. And, if you're not using all that data, then guess what? You are the one being used. When you've had enough of that, make the switch to Consumer Cellular. They set me up with a great phone and a great service. And it's easy to make the switch. You give them a call on the phone. You talk to an actual human being, not a robot. That person is right here in the United States, not on a space platform. Real human beings who are actually helpful. Only takes you about 20 minutes, so make the call. You'll be glad you did. Make the switch today at 1-800-760-0702. That's 800-760-0702. Yes, sir. Our house. Burning down a house. The Democrat Party. All right, lot more Washington hijinks coming right up. Hillary Clinton's out there attacking straight white Christian men. Maybe she's talking about Mormon men now that the Democrats are. Amazing stuff. All right, let's go to I've got some audio of Hillary. I apologize up front. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Jason calling from Kensington, Maryland. Jason, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, g'day, Chris. Haven't spoken for a while, mate.
Welcome back. Where have you been?
I know. I've been kind of a little tied up with injuries and stuff like that. So just a couple of things. I mean, I'm Maryland, as you know, and the taxes have pretty much doubled up here. And, I heard rumors that they're going to try and bring in an ambition tax. That's going to be their next thing.
So
more ambitious.
Anything you want less of, you tax more, and they want less ambition.
Yeah, and also, I'm not a big fan. Like I think you mentioned this, I'm not a big fan of this Kash Patel. He kind of looks like he's either out of his league, and he kind of looks like a deer in the headlights a bit, but also, or he's kind of being spooked by the deep state a bit, and he's just kind of saying just a bare minimum of what he needs to say. I'm not impressed with his interrogations, and where are the people getting busted at 4 a.m. and dragged out, in shackles and stuff like that? We don't see any of that. We're just too nice.
Still too nice. I got to say, I agree with you, and I don't know if you were here yesterday, Jason, but I was talking about the Kash Patel. The headlines all over the place were Kash Patel contradicts Donald Trump's claim about FBI on January 6th. And Kash Patel tries to correct MAGA conspiracy theories. And that's 14 hours ago. And he said the 274 FBI agents that were sent to Capitol Hill on January 6th, 4 or 5 years ago, say, they were just there to do crowd control. In plain clothes, with masks and no FBI identifiers, and then being uncuffed by their fellow police inside the U.S. Capitol. I agree with you. Kash Patel's got to straighten up. The Democrat Party is a very corrupt party. And the evidence is everywhere of this being the case. My friend Seton Motley sent me a fun story. It's something going on in a podcast in Chicago, Democrat Party, city corruption. They love corruption in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. I had family members that were tied up with the Chicago Democrat Party corruption, the Daley family, and all that, and signing up tombstones to vote on Election Day. But I went and looked up this story from 2009. The New York Times, no less, Democrat Party front group. The headline is, Abu Dhabi shares profits from parking meters. What's this? When Mayor Richard M. Daley, not to be confused with his father, Richard J. Daley, it's like North Korea. You got Kim Il-sung, then Kim Jong-il, and then Kim Jong-un, because that Chicago's like a communist dictatorship. When Mayor Richard M. Daley traveled to Abu Dhabi in February, his office announced that the trip was intended to sell Chicago as a place to do business. Got to go to the United Arab Emirates to do that. and to Abu Dhabi. Left unsaid, a little omission, a lie of omission. Left unsaid was that the Persian Gulf Emirate was about to become one of the biggest investors in a deal to lease Chicago's parking meters for 75 years. You're going to lease the parking meters in Chicago for 75 years? I'm envisioning Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke going around and tearing down all the parking meters with that tool. The city signed a now controversial $1.15 billion lease with a new company called Chicago Parking Meters LLC in February. The city officials said two funds of the Morgan Stanley Investment Fund made up 99% of the new company, with several other entities. And that's all they have to say, is several other entities. And the news media in Chicago doesn't cover it because they're Democrats too. Sharing the remaining, now listen to this, 99% of the company, with several other companies sharing the remaining 1%. 1%. In fact, the Chicago News Cooperative investigation has found that investment arms of the oil-rich Arab Emirate, Abu Dhabi, the government there, hold more than 25% stake in the company that privatized the city's 36,000 parking meters. They privatized the parking meters, and they sold them to Abu Dhabi for more than $1 billion up front and a 75-year lease. That Chicago doesn't own the parking meters, doesn't collect the revenue from the parking meters. They stood up a fake company. And then I'm guessing the Daley family got fatter off of this. And we have a news media that doesn't look into it. 60 Minutes is busy not looking into this now. German financial company Allianz also had a large minority interest in the remaining 50.1%. It's held by a partnership assembled by Morgan Stanley. Sure, the participation of Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund and other international investors exposes the level of sophistication of the money behind the city's parking meter deal. So the New York Times is spinning it like it's fine. Mayor Daley and other proponents of the contract argue that it's too soon to know if the parking investors will enjoy solid returns. The players in the Chicago Parking Meter Company are known for their acumen for profitable long-term deals. Yeah, the city of Chicago, not known for their acumen in profitable long-term deals. They just take $1 billion off the top up front, and then you never talk about it again, and the news media goes away. See, indeed, the government of Abu Dhabi recently encountered economic troubles. Financial markets looked, cash-strapped Abu Dhabi. Yeah, sure, they get over it. But here it is, and it turns out that the Daley family and Mayor Richie Daley sold the control of parking meters, 36,000 parking meters in Chicago, to Abu Dhabi for more than $1 billion. And isn't that just great? In 2024, the people at the Fox channel in Chicago went back to it. Chicago's parking meter deal still haunts the city's finances 16 years later. And because they're Democrats, the news media leaves it alone. Again, that New York Times piece was from the original, 2009. This Wednesday, and this is from the 2024, December 4th of 2024, so less than a year ago, the Fox 32 station in Chicago says Chicago's parking meter deal still haunts the city's finances 16 years later. But it doesn't haunt the Daley family's finances, I'll bet. This Wednesday, Chicago marked the anniversary of its financial deal, so contentious it's often referred to as one of the city's biggest blunders, the infamous 75-year parking meter lease. Back in 2008, then Mayor Richard M. Daley pushed the agreement through the city council in just 72 hours. The deal handed control of Chicago's parking meters to a private investor group in exchange for a one-time $1.15 billion payout. Sure, why would that be a problem? At the time, it was sold as a way to patch up the massive budget hole. I can't believe there was a massive budget hole. During the Great Recession, they called it the Great Recession. Sure, But looking back, critics argue it's been a disaster for the city. Private investors are expected to recoup their investment in just 15 years, leaving them with 60 more years of profits, while Chicago gets nothing. Sure. Well, this is the Democrat Party. This is what they do. This is what they're known for. It's the Chicago Democrat Party. What a scam. And where did the billion go? Well, we don't want to talk about that. But let me say there were boats and there were new cars and wah, wah, wah. Yes, sir. Lots of promises of taking care of future needs, like pension obligations. Sure, but the Fox channel said last December that didn't really pan out. That's the language they use. Didn't really pan out. Just great stuff. The corrupt politicians and nobody, again, no FBI pre-dawn raids. Isn't that amazing? Because in Chicago, gangsterism, long and storied tradition there. Man, oh man. But Jason was just asking where Kash Patel, where are the FBI pre-dawn raids on John Brennan, the Communist Party voting former CIA director picked by Barack Obama, whose mentor when he was a teenager was a Communist Party member. No problem with any of this, right? Isn't that amazing? Our Democrat Party. Yes, sir. Oh, and speaking of Democrats, I want to get to this one today, too. The International Business Times, IBT, you may know them, online, great online presence, really. Philadelphia, this is today now. The city of Philadelphia, to celebrate founding of the Chinese Communist Party by raising the Chinese Communist flag over City Hall, as the Democrat mayor is urged to cancel the ceremony. John Molinar, who chairs the House Select Committee on the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, issued an open letter to Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker this week, pressing her to rethink the flag-raising ceremony. This is just amazing stuff. International Business Times. Philadelphia is gearing up. I don't know how much gearing up you have to do, but to raise a flag. Philadelphia is gearing up to raise the Chinese Communist Party flag outside City Hall in honor of the regime's founding, a move that has stirred controversy. Boy, I can't believe that. Gee, I wonder why the world's leading communist power, they're guilty, documented, that they've murdered at least 50 million of their own people, Chinese people. And the more recent research says they likely murdered 75 million Chinese nationals, subjects, subjects of the terror that is communism. But isn't that amazing? The decision immediately faced backlash, with opponents sending letters to Mayor Sherelle Parker urging her to cancel the display. The Office of Immigrant Affairs, Philadelphia has an Office of Immigrant Affairs, is set to hold the flag-raising ceremony on September 30th, Tuesday, that's today, organized in collaboration with the Pennsylvania United Chinese Coalition. I wonder if Fang's around there anyway. Eric Swalwell. The organization behind the event says that it wants to boost the image of the Chinese Communist Party in the United States through what it calls a cultural exchange. They want to boost the image of the most murderous regime in the history of mankind. And that is a fact. But the plan has already sparked widespread public outcry in Washington, but apparently not in Philadelphia. Isn't that amazing? A flag raising is used to show respect for a nation that can inspire unity and pride between our two peoples. But can it also be inadvertently used to misrepresent support for another nation's actions and values? It's just, like, what do we have? Independence Hall there, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States. It's Philadelphia. It's also Rocky Balboa land. The 5-star red flag embodying the totalitarian government led by the Chinese Communist Party represents a regime that is persecuting spiritual people of all faiths, including the genocide of Uyghur Muslims. Yeah, and Christianity is banned. And the Democrats in Philadelphia think it's a good time to honor the blood-drenched communist regime in China because they are Democrats. Just amazing. It's a government that actively subsidizes the precursor chemicals used to manufacture fentanyl, which has killed or harmed millions of Americans. It is a communist party state, a one-party state, that is diametrically opposed to American values and working to undermine our interests worldwide. And that's why the Democrats are honoring them, because the Democrats might as well be the Communist Party of China at this point. In its letter, the Congressional Committee, pointed out that China is often at odds with the U.S. and warned that Philadelphia's government was essentially being used as a propaganda tool for the Chinese Communist Party. To cancel the PRC, People's Republic of China, to cancel the PRC flag-raising ceremony will not only demonstrate that the local government in the United States stands for U.S. values and national interest, but that it stands in support of the people of China who face the regime's ruthless oppression and transnational repression. I think that's true. Philadelphia's ties to China date back decades, with Tianjin becoming its official sister city in 1979, one of the earliest such partnerships between two nations. Now, city officials, however, insist the flag raising isn't about politics. Oh, sure, it's about low IQ, I think. It's not about politics, but rather celebrating the city's vibrant Chinese community. Well, go ahead and do that with a festival on a street that you block off on a Saturday, and you have good food, and you can buy silk things and those metal balls that you spin around in your hand that make a funny noise like there are bells inside. You know, isn't that amazing? Womp, womp, womp. Isn't that great? This will actually be the third time the flag has gone up outside City Hall, following similar ceremonies in 2017 and 2019. The Democrat Party might as well be the Communist Party in the United States of America. They're not on our side. The Chinese Communist Party is increasingly recognized as the single greatest national security threat to the United States in the 21st century. Yes, sir. Just amazing stuff. That's your Democrat Party for you. They are not on our side. But they love the communists because the communists are totalitarian, and they took everybody's guns away, and now they oppress them and repress them. All right, speaking of Eric Swalwell and his Chinese secret agent girlfriend, Fang Fang, who is his controller, his CCP controller, Eric Swalwell was on with his CNN pals talking about the alleged government shutdown, which is looming, as all the headlines say, looming. Midnight tonight, the government shuts down, and Timmy's scout troop can't get into Jellystone. And if Obama were in charge, they'd rope off the World War II memorial because they are rectal apertures, I think is the term that I'm looking for. Kate Bolden pretends to be a reporter on CNN talking to Chinese Communist Party operative. That's Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell from California.
Wednesday morning, you are looking at a government shutdown. Do you want to see Senator Schumer stand up here, even if it means stand up and stand against making a deal?
Stand up.
Even if it leads to a government shutdown?
Well, I don't want to fund this government as is. And so that's
not
really
answering the question. Well, I don't want to fund this government. What do you mean, the United States government? Right. And he's, again, sleeping with, for years, Chinese agent Fang Fang, a honeypot sent over here to recruit people like Eric Swalwell, very, very successfully recruiting Eric Swalwell. Wait, and I guess I had another one. I got more Swalwell. Yeah, I don't want to fund this government. Well, what does your controller Fang Fang say you should do? I guess your Fang Fang says you should support Schumer and shut the government down, but just go have sex with Fang Fang and the Washington Post, and they'll blame the Republicans for it because there's one thing they know, it's lying. Let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Got another headline today. Did Obama falsify climate data? Of course he did. He falsified everything. Naturally, and that was a big shakedown. It still is a big shakedown. It's a cash cow. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Dave. Dave is here. Dave calling from Silver Spring, Maryland. Dave, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dave.
Jason brought up Kash Patel, and yesterday you brought up Kash Patel in regard to a claim that 250 or 270 FBI agents were present at January 6th, and you were skeptical because Kash Patel said they were there for crowd control. I would remind you that inciting a riot is also crowd control. And Kash Patel has a problem on his hands because if that's what they were doing, if those agents were inciting a riot, then they need to be prosecuted the same as the Jan 6 people. We don't want to see that, so I think at a minimum, those agents should be fired. Doing what my boss told me to do didn't work in Nuremberg, and it doesn't work today. If someone tells you to weaponize your badge against half the American people, and you follow that order, you should be, at a minimum, you should be dismissed from your job. If you joined in on the Mar-a-Lago raid or the Roger Stone raid, or if you helped, what's that gentleman who was taken out in shackles from from National Airport?
Peter Navarro.
Peter Navarro, great American. If you were part of that and you said, well, my boss told me to do that, and you're violating other Americans' civil and constitutional rights, you no longer have a right to that shield. You shouldn't have that badge anymore.
Well, I love your passion about it, and I want to hear from these 274 is the number, 274 FBI agents. And then Kash Patel, of all people, announces, I just don't understand it. It seems awfully oblivious. Oh, they were sent for crowd control in plain clothes, which doesn't make any sense. That's, send in 274 guys in plain clothes and say they're there for crowd control.